Welcome. We are back in for a packed stream tonight. So I'm going to start off with just the usual Bitcoin and some other markets. Then I'm going to talk about the overall stock market. And at 8:45 EST, I'm going to be hopping onto a call with KeanuTrades. We did some live trading today in the morning on Twitter. We'll recap a little bit from that. We'll see what he's up to, what his thoughts on the market are currently. So yeah, we've got a lot going on. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. Crazy day. One of the craziest days I've seen in the market in a long time. And we were expecting a crazy day today with the FOMC. So we did get the widely expected 25 basis point hike. Then you also had Powell talking for a little bit, relatively hawkish. He did pull back between the FOMC release and Powell talking. And then while Powell started, kind of halfway through his speech, the market ripped back towards session high. So insanity across the board. We're going to get to everything. We're going to start off with Bitcoin, which made a weird move last night. Bitcoin, I mean, it's actually okay. Even Bitcoin, first off, the US stock market, all right, let me not say that 1 second. You're going up and down very quickly. Let me keep it like that. The US stock market, saw a lot of fluctuation intraday, but Bitcoin started seeing some fluctuations last night. And take a look at this. Bitcoin shot up 5%. Okay, in 15 minutes. That requires a lot of money. This happened at 10 o'clock EST last night. Bitcoin shot up 5%. I tweeted it out after I saw that it happened. Crazy move. And then it just dropped within the next hour. It pretty much went up 5%, went back down 5%, went even slightly lower, and then it spent the rest of the day, just like the US market and many other markets across the globe, trending upwards. So now it's kind of back to where it is. We have a swing on Bitcoin currently. it's really done not much. It's been, you know, halfway to the target, halfway to the stop. Now it's just slightly in profit. We're just waiting to see which way Bitcoin breaks, whether it's below 33K first, which would mean the trade will stop out, or over 45.7K first, which means decent chance you could hit that first target, which is right under the 200-day moving average. So that's it for Bitcoin. Ethereum is getting closer towards the supply line of this symmetrical triangle that it's been in. That's really it. That's the only difference. Until this breaks out, still I don't see much of a major edge on Ethereum. Oil continuing its pullback. If you watch this stream on this exact day on March 9th, I told you all about the breakdown and the bearish engulfing candle on oil. That was literally the top so far. You've pulled back almost every single day since. And then the same thing for gold. Had a very similar formation of bearish engulfing candle. I mean, these are technical patterns that are reversing some of the largest asset classes in the world. You know, it's just crazy to think about how a bearish engulfing candle, after it was confirmed, led to another 5% drop in something like gold. It's just crazy. But look at what's happening now. Remember, when we were up here, I told you 1921 was support. You fell under it for a little bit, but you ended up actually creating a hammer candle off of that level for gold. So this is a very important area. We got to see if gold can confirm this hammer candle by giving you some follow through price action. And remember, this is all a potential cup and handle if you do break above 2100 at any point. And that's another thing I was talking about when we were up here. I was saying, you know, you might pull back before actually breaking to a new high, maybe make a cup and handle, and we'll see if that actually happens or not. The dollar today pulled back, nothing too crazy. Silver bouncing up. We talked about that bullish pin bar yesterday. You pretty much got the same exact candle today. Hopefully this can hold. It's trying to backtest this little breakout area. And Russia market still halted. Here's a big one. Here's the big one. The Seng index. Absolute insanity. On Monday night stream, I charted this level, 18,264. And that was pretty much the bottom, give or take. I don't know, like 0.25% or something. But we charted that level, 18,264. It was up over here, just breaking down. And this is exactly what happened. It came right down to this level. And then this morning, for us at least, we saw insanity with so many different Chinese stocks. But at the same time, you know, it's easy for a stock to go up 30-40% in a day when it just fell, you know, an insane amount, right? You know, percentages are always interesting because, you know, you take a look at something, before we look at this, you take a look at something like the Seng index. It was up 9% today. But that 9%, it sounds like a lot, and it actually is the biggest one-day gain since 2008, the financial crisis. This is the biggest one-day gain since then. And it sounds like a lot, but if you zoom out, it looks like nothing compared to how much you've fallen, right? You know, there's some sort of, let me see if I could find this. There's a really good, a lot of graphics on this. Let me see. I might have it bookmarked on Twitter. All right, there we go. I do have it bookmarked. All right, take a look at this, okay? I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but a lot of newer investors get surprised when you see things like this. Once you start crossing like a 30-40% decline in any asset, the gain to require that back is a lot, right? If you have a $10 stock and it falls to 5, that's a 50% decrease. But to go from 5 back up to 10, that's a 100% increase, right? So when we're talking about all these asset classes and indices and individual stocks that got absolutely demolished, and now they're going back up, you can see crazy gains off the bottom. So you got to keep that in mind, right? Something like clov that went from 28 to 3. I don't know, off the top of my head, that's over an 80% drop, isn't it? I don't want to do the math, whatever, it's a crazy amount. But for clov just to go from 3 to 6, which is a much smaller move dollar-wise, is a 100% gain, right? So you have to start thinking like that, where if we are seeing a bottom right now, the amount of opportunity is insane. And here's the thing, it's the easy thing to do right now is just to stay bearish, because that's all we've done this year on most asset classes, is just fall. But historically, when your markets across the world fall on a level that they have in this quick of a time, it's just too quick, too much fear in the market. Sentiment is absolutely fearful, extreme fear across the board. When I woke up and I saw Chinese stocks doing this morning, the first thing that came to my mind was people are finally going back to risk on. And that's the first time we've seen that this year. That was the first thing this morning that struck my attention. But then I got to see the intraday price action of the market, how we closed the day for the market. I'm going to talk about that after I finish talking about Chinese stocks. We're going to talk about the actual US stock market. But yeah, biggest one-day rally since 2008. And let me see. Beijing promised measures to substantially boost economic growth and keep financial markets stable. So you've obviously had a lot of fear, rightfully so, around Chinese stocks for a long time, longer than the US market has been falling, much longer than that. You've seen something like BABA get absolutely destroyed over time, right? And a lot of people, it's easy to think that, okay, all this thing does is go down, but what happens when it doesn't? Right? And you're now approaching these final waves of major harmonics across the board. And that's another thing. I've been talking about this for 2 or 3 days now. You're also getting these major harmonics all happening at the same time. Why are you hitting the pattern completion zones of major harmonics on so many different assets? And we're talking about 2-year-long patterns, even longer for many, at the same exact time, right? You're seeing the classic, historical, textbook market situations taking place. You're seeing harmonics hitting PCZs, you're seeing Wyckoff accumulation across the board, and we're talking huge time frames, long patterns. And the thing is, you're just in an area where you're finally potentially bottoming, I think at least, and everybody is just kind of turning a blind eye to that because of all the fear, and rightfully so. There's a lot of bad things happening in the world. But where we are from a technical standpoint is the clearest opportunity I've seen. And I haven't been trading for a long time, but since I've started trading. So that's how I'm looking at it. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about what's going on more specifically with some US stocks. But this is these are the areas where I think we're ready to reverse. And that's pending a lot of different things. And I'm going to read you the thread I put out earlier today. But we are it's just too many coincidences at the same time. You're seeing... we talked about this as well. Let me pull this up. Did I really delete it? I got it. All right, we are seeing multiple indicators. One, we're seeing fear and greed indices. There's so many different ones. All of them are at their max fear levels. We're seeing something, if I zoom in here, like PE ratios for mid caps and small caps going back to the levels in which pretty much every single time they've been at these levels in the 21st century, they've bottomed at in terms of price. Okay, we are seeing an overly, I've switched over a little bit yesterday and today, but we have been seeing an overly bearish options market, and that all has to be hedged as well. We're seeing fear across all of media. We're seeing all the technical things I use. We're seeing Wyckoff, we're seeing harmonic PCZs. And now on the indices, we're finally seeing some turnaround, and just the psychology of this, right? We didn't see just one, but we've seen now 2 days of stocks really rallying, right? We have a lot of short activity on a lot of names as well, which can propel moves up even more. And this just looks like capitulation to me. The last, especially month or so, you saw straight down price action for a lot of stocks. And now you're seeing very rapid moves back up. And typically, from what I've seen, bottoms tend to happen very quick. And that's why most people miss out, because when you hit your bottom, everybody thinks it's a dead cat bounce. And 4 out of 5 times you will have a dead cat bounce instead of a bottom, which is why it's very hard to predict the bottom. And which is why I don't really care if I predict the bottom or not. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But even getting a chance of doing so creates an immense amount of opportunity. I think that's where we potentially are. And again, before I even get into everything, I want to clarify something. A lot of people think, calling things, calling the bottom, it's a very egotistical thing. And most people do not care if you call things correctly. People will only just wait until you mess up on your calls, and then they'll just say a lot of mean things. So that's why I'm kind of trying to start this off the right way. Okay, I think the bottom was already put in. I'm not saying, the bottom can't obviously be today if we've already been bouncing for a couple days now. I think the bottom was already put in, which means, yes, we are up 30, 40, 50% in a few days on a bunch of different assets. Do I, as a reversal trader, do I think it makes sense to FOMO all in after a stock just went up 30, 40% in 1 week? No. But do I think that shows that you're finally back to risk on? Do I also think that 30, 40% doesn't mean much if you take a look at how much many assets already fell, like we just looked at. These are just so many points that a lot of people are not taking a look at. And I think by the time we get to higher levels on a lot of these assets, a lot of people are going to start then saying the bottom's in. But for right now, I feel like, one, I could be wrong. And I know there's a lot of bears and a lot of people who strongly disagree with me. When you look at something like inflation, you look at something like the interest rates, you look at something like the wars taking place, all the horrible things happening right now with global markets. But we've seen, we've actually seen a global pandemic. Economies literally shut down and the market rallied to all-time highs. In my opinion, you move on fear and greed. And this is a common thing I talk about all the time. People will trade a company based on what it's supposed to be worth, but companies trade with the market. If we're talking about day-to-day price action, long-term fundamentals work amazingly, probably better than technicals. But we're talking about short-term. A stock is not going to go up 10% in one day, 20% in one day without any catalyst if it's not just pure emotion, okay? Your PE ratio is not going to be changing that quickly. Your market cap your market cap will change with the price action, but before then your market cap's not changing. Just nobody's really looking at this in a way that I think we've seen multiple times historically people look at things like this. So we're gonna, in 5 minutes, we're gonna be talking with KeanuTrades, but before we get to that, I just want to talk about some key things I'm seeing in the overall market. First up, we've been talking about this for months. You pretty much got to the PCZ area of your bat on the ARK ETF, okay? I'm gonna go over to the Russell 2000. This is still in its range. This is still the only kind of index that I don't really see much of anything on. But if you ignore any ranges or anything, you can just look at it like this, right? You're bidding this down sloping wedge or broadening wedge. You're getting closer towards that breakout point. You know, different perspective is important. The QQQ broke out today, okay? It broke out of the descending broadening wedge it's been in since January of this year. It broke out today. And actually, you know, a lot of people are saying, why didn't it break out here? Because it closed under the supply line. This is the first time closing above your supply line on the QQQ this year after people bought at 317, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times in a row, buyers stepped up between 317 and 319 on the QQQ. Let's take a look at the SPY. This is the highest close on the SPY since March 3rd. After you just spent a whole entire week consolidating over here and making a higher low very clearly on the daily for the first time in a long time based on candle closes. Let's take a look at the 4-hour on the SPY. It's finally testing a breakout point of this supply line it's been rejecting since the beginning of the year. QQQ already broke out. Russell 2000 is trying to make a partial decline in a range it's been in since the beginning of the year. You're getting all these formations at the same time. ARK ETF itself has classic bullish divergence. Nerve with the $21 tip.
I dollar SPY champs put.
I dollar SPY champs. I SPY champs put. I get it. Thank you very much for the tip, Nerve. Really appreciate it. Back-to-back tips. So thank you for the tip yesterday and today. Vibes in the chat for Nerve with the tip. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. Seriously, the support's been crazy lately. So these are all the things I'm seeing with the market. I need to hop into a call with Keanu in like a couple minutes. Before I do, I want to really quickly read this. All right. I said on Twitter today in the Discord, I am calling the market. I'm calling the bottom solely from a technical standpoint. Okay. News can obviously override that. If you get more of tension with the war going on or different wars, that can obviously override it. If COVID cases spike again, if inflation keeps staying this hot, news 100%. I say this every single time. It's one of the biggest misconceptions people have about me is I only think technicals matter because that's the main thing I talk about. I've said this dozens of times. News can always override that. Okay. And I also said it's not going to be days like yesterday and today. You know, every day is not going to look like 3% on the QQQ. You're going to get pullbacks, right? But again, I'm not saying that the bottom was today. The bottom couldn't have been today. I'm saying I think, let's go to a SPY, I think that the 24th was the bottom, right? And a lot of people think me calling the bottom is going to be, okay, we're going to run up to all-time highs in 2 weeks. No. We could pull back tomorrow. We could have a red day on Friday. I don't know. I just think we've generally bottomed out in these areas. We could even retest these areas and go back up again. I just think eventually you're going to see your uptrend for the first time of the year. There's another important graphic I want to look at. I'm not sure if I saved it. Let's take a look at this. It's just people want to focus, and you know, it's fine to focus on a lot of these things, but nobody's really looking at the stats in my opinion. Historically, we've seen these same exact variables so many times and they led to bottoms. This is from Enrique Abita on Twitter. Fourth worst start to a calendar year for the S&P 500 ever, down 12% in the first 48 trading days. Here's what happened the other times, okay? So here's 2022. Most of the other times we started the year like this for the SPY, you rallied into the close, except for 2001 and 2008. So there's no certainty, again, you're gonna do the same thing, but these are huge, huge, huge markups that happened 12 out of 14 times, if I'm reading this correctly, because we can't count this right now, right? So we have all of that. I said we are already up a lot in 2 days. So short term, I don't think, you just had Chinese stocks up 30, 40% in one day. You might get a day two, you never know. But across the board, you were up 10, 15, 20, 30% on so many different stocks. I don't think you should just FOMO right in. There's going to be pullbacks along the way, but I think this is now the time where cost averaging finally makes sense. I think we finally have confirmed the bottom. I didn't call the bottom on February 24th because there was no way for me to really do so. I need multiple days of confirmation. This is the first time I think I'm seeing confirmation, okay? We are over here. And I also am saying I am more focused on the sector of the market that peaked in Q1, Q2 of last year, things like the ARK ETF, a lot of mid-cap growth stocks. I'm not talking about things like Apple or Microsoft, which are down like 10% from their highs. I'm talking about the basket of stocks that are down 50, 60, 70, 80% from their highs. Not every single one of them. I think some of them are actually trash companies, but I think probably more than half of them are going to start seeing reversals to the upside. We're going to talk about specific names later. And here's the biggest thing. I don't care if I'm wrong. A lot of people place a lot of importance around calling things. Me calling something is just telling you there's variables I see, and I'm going to manage my risk around that. I might actually not even lose money if I'm wrong about this being the bottom. Okay, I play both sides all the time. If things change tomorrow, I'll let you know that. So don't take this as like, oh my gosh, Champ says the bottom is in. He has to be 100% right. The market's going to rally to all-time highs. No, there's going to be consolidation. There's going to be pullbacks. Might not even be the bottom. I'm telling you what I think, not what I know, because I do not know the future. Now let's go see what KeanuTrades thinks. Hopefully that helped. Make sure to check out KeanuTrades on Twitter at KeanuTrades. The link is the first link in the description. We're going to hop on a call with him right now. We're going to talk for a little bit. And then after that, I still need to go over stocks. We only looked at the overall market. I'm still gonna go over a lot of different stocks from today, some of the trades from today. So we still have a lot left for the stream. So let me hop into a call with him. Let's get that all set up. Give me a second here. Output device. That looks good. Okay. Hello? Can you hear me? Keanu, you there?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
Nothing much. How you doing?
Doing good. Is my camera off?
Yeah. Do you want to put it on?
No, I turned it off. Just making sure it's off. I need to lose weight first before I get on.
Okay. All right. All right. So good. Welcome to the stream. We were talking earlier today on Twitter Spaces. Let me just make sure the audio is good. Can you talk for 1 second?
Yeah. What's going on, everybody? I'm excited to be here. This morning on Spaces, we had some good money on SPY puts. That was just crazy. I think those went for like 400%.
Yeah, it was a crazy move. We'll definitely get into that.
Champ called that out perfectly on that. I think it like wicked on that resistance. Trying to form a ascending triangle. But you said you had that level from a long time ago, and that was just really nice to see. And we wrote Tesla up to that level too, before you got on.
Oh, really? Because, you guys were already like in the live trading before I joined, right?
Yeah, we went in at market open, and today was real different because I usually don't trade until about 650,
Okay.
7. And so when you were like, I'm going to be in at 7 o'clock, I was like, oh, that's cool because I don't trade till then anyway. But we had that dip and rip. And right when that dip, that open started to wick, we got into some calls and kind of FOMO'd in, I guess you could say. But it bounced off of a support level. So it wasn't
Hold up.
just like, can you hear me?
Let me try and share my screen so I can you can see what I'm doing. 1 second.
Okay, cool.
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah,
Oh,
let me know
it's
if
all
you
right.
can see it. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can.
All right, perfect. Just so when you break down things, I can look at it and then you can see what I'm talking about. Just make things a lot
Absolutely.
easier. All right, keep going.
Okay, so that was that 434. You said that was a big level from, I want to say March 10th.
Yeah, 434. You see these lows over here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was the gap
So
fill I was talking
puts
about.
on that reject.
Yeah. You want me to kind of break down that trade really quickly?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you started talking this morning on it, I was like, oh, I wish I would have recorded it. So I'm glad you're going to do it now.
Awesome. So yeah, basically I had just joined into the live trading on his Twitter, and I was looking around for a little bit. The thing was, it was already 10 o'clock, and if you saw the first half an hour of the day, it was pretty crazy. So I was like, all right, I mean, how much more value is there to the upside on a lot of these names that are already up 7-8% by the time I'm just getting to my desk? Let me try and think a little bit differently.
Yep.
I started looking left on my charts, and the first thing I noticed was on the 15-minute, the SPY was filling a gap. Gap fills can very often act as support and resistance. For example, over here, you had a gap fill. You went a little bit higher, but then you ended up pulling back. So I saw you had this gap fill looking left. That's the first thing I took a look at on the 5-minute. I also saw that the RSI was overbought. It was at the upper Bollinger Band. And somebody else mentioned on the 1 hour, I already had this charted, but I completely forgot to look at it. On the 1 hour, this was the exact candle. You were hitting that trend line. So you had all those variables coming in together. And yeah, it led to a nice little pull. I think right away I said my first target on the live spaces I said was VWAP, and that hit live during the call. I think the puts were up 40% when I hit that first target. And I did say I was still holding half, if you remember, for later in the day. And I said my second target was going to be 431, but it could have changed, and it did definitely change. And I ended up, I think, taking the majority of my profits around this level, around 428, 427. So it ended up being over 160, 170% profit for me personally. But even later in the day, I alerted some other puts, and there were so many different ways to play it. And those puts I alerted in premium. My Discord's on the side. Those ones ran again. So the first puts ran from the live trading.
What was your percentage on your runners?
I didn't even look at the actual percent overall because I was scaling out of them. I remember I took that first one at 40%. I know I took one off at I don't know. I was doing I did so many different scales. I even scaled in a little bit more. So I was in and out a little bit. But
I scaled out
over,
when it hit the top of the band coming back down.
Yeah, it was over 100% profit. But
yeah. I mean, on zero DTEs like that, for SPY to go from 434 to about $10, almost $10.
Yeah,
you killed it.
Nice move.
So that was.
Yeah, even at 1227, I shared SPY a lot of puts. They were one strike higher, 433s, and those live spaces I said 432s. And those went from 218 to about, I think, $8.15 within a couple hours. So yeah, the puts were really, really nice plays today for sure.
That
and
other bear flag too on the
from where
is the golden line VWAP or
the yellow line right here. Yep.
So that bear flag looking thing, it looks like the pin bar on after the drop. You see how it's an inverted
this right over here,
head and shoulders. Yeah, so it dropped and then it made it inverted cup and handle, or not cup and handle, inverted head and shoulders. Yeah,
and then this breakdown
within the bear flag is that inverted head and shoulders though, and then it double topped on that top line you just had. I see what
you're saying. Yeah.
Then it started to flag, and I was like, if it flags here, it's gonna pop. And then it started to fail VWAP, and then that's when I rolled SPY puts. And then rolled on that next bear flag 431.50 level. And it kind of went 431 again on that bigger bear flag. And this is something I talk about a lot. The first time it bear flagged off the 431.75, it's 1, 2, 3 bars, right? So that's 15 minutes, I guess, 20 minutes.
Yep.
So then the drop was, it was a nice little drop. But then the next bear flag, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's like over an hour, right?
Yep.
5 times 10. Isn't that 50 minutes?
It's about,
something like that. So the next drop was bigger because that flag was bigger. So the bigger the flag, the bigger the drop, bigger the move. So you can scale in more and more. And people will be like, it's not dropping. What's going on? Like this is a failed trade. Because look, it wicked, right? At like, this is like this 13, one? Maybe 45. No, the other bear flag, like the big one, end of the day.
Oh, you're talking about like here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see how it wicked? People
this
were
one?
like, oh, the one before you were just on. Like right there. Yeah,
I'm confused.
So that
okay,
in that bear flag that you're on right there. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the first doji. And we have like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. That the last red candle before the big red candle.
This one?
Right there, exactly. So when that started to wick up, people were like, hey, this isn't working out. Like these puts exactly are not working out. And I'm like, we're still in a lower high from that, 432,
yep.
431.70. If it doesn't take out that level, I'm still in the trade and I'm still adding. Because when you add, especially zero DTEs, they're what? 25, 60 bucks, maybe 80. Okay. So if you do 10, you're at 800 bucks. I mean, I'm not saying that that's not any money, but as soon as it starts to go red, you can scale out and it's a green trade all the way.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to play it. I even said today, hey, I play real aggressive, especially out in the FOMC days. And we scaled out right at that 427.90. I think it was 428 right when we scaled out, and we missed that last drop
that's
down.
Exactly the same as me. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I was getting scared, I was like, I'm securing profits here. I've been writing puts since
And the thing was, I told myself, and I actually said this in the call if you remember, and I just randomly said it too, right over here. When we were at the highs of the day in the live trading, I was like talking about everything. I told everybody, if we have like a bad reaction to FOMC, there is a gap fill from this morning, and I said that 427 level. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I was saying, just in case we get a bad reaction, everybody look for 427. I'm sure many other people will be watching that level. And when we were starting to sell off, I was telling myself, all right, you have to wait. You called that level. You got to wait for 427. But I already saw myself up probably like almost like 200% at like 428. And I had that level here because this used to be both support multiple times and even resistance multiple times. So once we started falling back into over here, I was like, all right, let me just take profits. These expire literally today. I don't really have a lot of time. And then it was like another 100% left on the table after that. But you can't complain when it's lotto. It's like nobody's getting the exact low and top of the day every single day. You just gotta play whatever part of the trade you can to the best of your ability. And the first part of the trade was
that overnight gap down.
Yep, right over here. So it went down to that level, even went a little bit lower, which might have actually stopped out some people who got into like calls or something. Right on this candle, they might have gotten stopped out, and then Powell just shot the market right back up. But the crazy part about the puts, and then we can move on to something else, but the call out on Twitter Spaces was literally this candle right over here, this exact candle. And then so that was the Twitter Spaces call out for the puts. And then I also called out other puts in the Discord. Must have been on like this candle right over here. I saw that it had broken down because I saw you tweet this out as well. There was a little bit of a triangle it was hitting the apex of.
Yeah.
The second it broke down from that triangle, I alerted puts in the Discord. And then those puts went up, I think.
You alerted puts off my tweet? What?
No. Out here, I can pull it up really quickly.
I love it.
Let's see. But I'm just trying to show this to everybody so you can like see like, it doesn't really have to be that complicated,
Yeah, that triangle was really like obvious. Tesla was in the same one. And
let me take a look. So yeah, it was right over here. So I saw that breakdown. I was testing the VWAP. And then on the 15-minute, your MACD was losing momentum. It was overbought, and it was still rejecting that gap fill resistance level. And
making a lower high.
We saw the flush of the VWAP, and it just kept falling. It hit my first level. I also called out this level in the morning. It finally hit that level, and it just kept flushing. And then you had the FOMC, and that obviously just catapulted it a lot more, and the calls ended up going up a little bit over 200. The puts ended up going up a little bit more than 200%. So, I mean, same day expirations are crazy, and I actually want to talk to you about these. I probably only started trading same day expirations and lottos probably towards the end of last year, maybe Q3, Q4. And I know you've done a really, really good job, especially I've seen so many crazy moves you've made with Tesla and short-term options. When we did the workshop, I'm sure a lot of you have seen that video. I always see comments like to this day of everybody, talking about how much they loved your part of that workshop. You've been in the game for a while, and I want to get your thoughts on why do you like short-term options? What does it help you do? And what are your best methods for making money with them? Just really quickly.
It definitely fuels my ADD, because these days that don't move, it's really difficult for me. I mean, I even started adding a Wordle channel to Discord because I don't want people to overtrade, including myself. So when someone's like, I really want to, get Apple calls here. And I'm like, well, why? Like, it just can't go down anymore. And I'm just like, do Wordle and then revisit it, take a walk, whatever. But
yep.
So we added that. We do Blue Chip, which is BLUECHXP on iPhone, which is a very easy app to use. It's commons, but I'm trying to fill my traders' time with like activities. It's like a classroom. It's like color. Let's just color until the next trade.
Yeah.
Like when SPY was in that triangle for, was it 90 minutes, maybe
about 2 hours
at least. Yeah. Okay. So 120 minutes. People are like, is this going down? I mean, you have a triangle before that, right? Because it bounced off of the VWAP.
You could even have looked at it like this.
Yeah. It's bouncing off VWAP. I'm like, okay, well, is it making a lower high? Which it did. And I'm okay with it making a triangle all day long, and in this market, yes, it's a scalper's market, and I am not a scalper at heart. So I'm adding, if I'm doing 0 DCE, 2, 4, 6, 8, like that. Or you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, of course. When you added those puts, I was like, dang, he's adding. I added with you. I think it was 1 or 2. And then when it wicked up, like 15 minutes later, I added 2 more. I doubled the position, right? Because that wick went a little higher. So added more puts, and then I'm like, oh, keep fading. Perfect. And I said, why'd you take puts there? And zoomed out because I don't want to just enter a trade without knowing as well. I had that as a resistance on my chart. I had to zoom out to see why. That's from the 3rd, I think. So, and then I just sit on SPY and Tesla, and then I add tickers that I think are going to move, like Facebook and such, and wait for flags, wait for, like, you have that cup and handle. SPY is always up. I mean, just the contracts are $1 spread, and they expire 3 times a week. So, it might sound dumb, but it's a coin flip until all this TA only really gets you from 50% to 51%. Can you close the gap from 51% to maybe 80%? Now we can make some money. So that's kind of how I think of it.
And currently in the market, a lot of people have their favorite names to trade. I know Tesla's one of yours. Can you name a few others?
I was trading MU for a while there.
Oh, monster this week.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I add for 2 weeks at a time. We had a nice play off of those highs, off the top of your
right over here
ascending.
Oh, you're saying right here. I see this. Yeah.
Yep. I've been. People are like, I'm still in those puts. I got a month out, and I'm like, bro, love it. So I will. I'll send over my screenshot of my watch list, but it's Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Netflix, even though I don't trade Netflix very much, I don't know, I should take that off. Nvidia, Qs, I still got Roku on there, SPY, Q, and Tesla. I mean, Square and Tesla.
Yep.
And then like the spot for Netflix and MU, I will leave one on there. And if I don't trade it for like 3 or 4 days, I take it off and look for a new one. Like I'm going to add AMD right now because we traded that yesterday and today. So I'm putting that on right now, and I'm going to take off Netflix. So yeah.
Good. And
what do you do for your watch list? Because you'll post tickers where I'm like, what is that ticker? Like, do you use a scanner to find those patterns or what?
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy process, but I wouldn't say crazy. It just takes time. Every weekend, I go on 2 platforms, TradyTix and FinViz, and I spend about an hour and a half, and I compile about 200 to 300 tickers onto my watch list, and I go through every single one of the charts, and I use a bunch of different scanning settings. I use things like options flow, so I see what were a lot of people buying calls in from the week prior, because I'm usually doing these over the weekend. I look at FinViz has some great settings for like hammer candles. I obviously put in over 1 million volume, high short float, double bottoms. Like you could scan it for a lot of these different technicals, but the scanners are only going to do so much. They're never going to be perfect. So and I just kind of go through all of them and try and pick out my favorite 10 or so every single week, and share some of those on stream, share some of those in the Discord. Coming into this week, I had a nice little list. Pull this up really quickly.
I like going to barcharts.com.
Okay.
And you can no, not barcharts.com. It's what is it? Barchart.com.
Okay.
Because you can easily search for free options, and the options overflow. You have most active options, percent change in volatility. It's free. It's easily sortable. I was tweeting these out for a while. You can go to that like percent change, like Amazon. 114% change on this option. I don't even know which one it is. So I love barchart.com a lot.
Awesome. But yeah, I mean, for mine, like, so I'll do 200-300 tickers, and I'll just pick out like my favorite ones. And I look for all the different, technicals, patterns, and oscillators, and VWAP, moving averages, volume, all that good stuff. Like coming into this week, we had some nice ones. Moderna was one of them. Moderna's, I think, up over 20% on the week. KSS, this one, I don't know if there was a catalyst, but I was watching this wedge in 200-day moving average. This was what it looked like over the weekend.
That broadening wedge go.
This is what it looked like today. So, I mean, you just got to put in the time. It's not easy to find all these charts, but if you just put in a good amount of time, they're there for you.
So interesting. A lot of times they'll bounce off the bottom trend line of the broadening wedge, but this one bounced off of what's that line?
That's the 200-day moving average.
So that one bounced off the 200. Wow. Usually, from what I see it as that previous green bounce off of the wedge line. So yeah, that's interesting to see.
So what actually that's called a partial decline. Actually, it's basically whenever you're in a pattern and you don't touch like your bottom trend line before you break out, it gives you a 70% chance of breaking out when you're testing your top trend line. Does that make sense?
Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
So Thomas Bulkowski, who actually made a lot of these patterns and did a lot of the research on them, he kind of coined that as well. So yeah, I look for those all the time as well.
When you were in high school?
I did. I don't really want to say my score. It wasn't great.
Come on.
I think it was 1180. I could probably look it up.
I know the score.
I think it's 1600. It was I think it was like an insanely average score. A lot of my school scores and grades were just very average, and right now it's pretty
because it wasn't about stocks.
Yeah, actually that is true. Actually, the one award I got one award. It was outstanding student in business in my senior year of high school. So at least that one made sense. But yeah, I just look for the patterns. I was looking at Palantir coming into this week. It was testing a little wedge breakout that shot up today. NCLH. So just all that good stuff,
Do you have like I know you like the harmonics, but is that like your favorite pattern, you'd say?
No, I think just regular patterns. I don't like, I love harmonics. I love divergence. And probably if I have to name one indicator that's maybe the most amount of money, it's divergence. But in terms of like what I enjoy trading, and because with patterns, like you can tell a story with them, and also they're a lot simpler because you can see how they're reacting to each level. Like when you're in a triangle or something, like for the SPY today, you know, I'm sure a lot of people recharted this many different ways. I know I recharted this 2 or 3 times today. But then you're also looking for other variables like volume and stuff to help you out. Like there's no coincidence that literally on this candle you had higher volume, right? If you really zoom in there, which I really can't
exactly
view. So, I mean, it's just crazy how all these things come together. Like it's also no coincidence that I alerted puts on the candle right over here and on the candle over here. And I actually said this exact thing earlier today. I'm not going to pull up the Discord again, but I said, I'm not bragging or anything. It just goes to show you like what these technicals can do for you. They're never going to tell you, you know, the future. That's what a lot of people think they're going to do. They're not going to tell you the future, but they're going to give you, like how you just said, that edge. And if you can match experience and risk management with that edge, that's how people make money in this market consistently. So
when you draw like that triangle, I try and draw them on the candle bodies. You know, if there's like a wick somewhere, I will almost disregard the wick. Of course, the wick's important for how strong the resistance is, but yeah, so exactly. I do it the same way.
It just comes down to preference for a lot of people. A lot of people use wicks only. A lot of people use bodies only. For me, I just prefer wicks on more volatile assets and time frames where they're moving a lot more. But if you're on, you know, like something with low volume and it's a pretty slow mover, that's probably when I'll use bodies. But I think like the one rule of thumb is just to kind of be consistent, like, you know, chart wick to wick or body to body. Right. Unless you're looking at like long-term trend lines, then you know you might get like a wick and a body and a wick and a body all lining up. Yeah. There's so many different variations. I think that, you know, the easiest way to look at these things is, you know, just look for any scenario where you're seeing a trend and you're seeing some sort of level being rejected or used as support.
And you go to that cup that you're on right now, like that
like down
FOMC
here?
drop. No, where you just were.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see that. I have a question for you. So when that happened, I was saying, oh, we might cup and handle here. But the handle didn't really form, right? It's obviously an ugly cup, but the handle you like to fade down, and then it didn't fade down and just kind of flagged on up. So would you like say, because people be like, is that a cup and handle? And I'm like, well, I mean, it looks like an ugly cup and handle. I mean, it's like looking at a cloud. What do you see, right? Like we're just trying to get an edge. Everything isn't going to be a perfect cup, a perfect handle. So I'll call it, like I said, an ugly cup and handle, or maybe it's like a double bottom cup and handle. I'm just like making that up. So if someone said, is that a cup and handle? Would you say, hey, no, because the handle isn't fading down?
That's correct in a sense, yeah. This is not really a cup and handle. I just call this surrounding bottom, a V-shaped recovery. Cup and handle, I mean, we saw this yesterday, and I actually was watching this live. I was sharing like this handle part. This is like, anybody who's asking about a cup and handle, just take a screenshot of this. Like this was a beautiful, just
the
Picasso
there at the top of the
just
perfect.
Showed up and painted this for all of us yesterday leading up until today. But this is like your textbook perfect cup and handle. You know, you want to have a very symmetrical rounding bottom. Then you could have another rounding bottom for your handle, or like you said, you could just look at it as like a flag. But you definitely want to see some sort of a retrace. And then that just kind of shows that if you can make a good enough higher low, that the bears don't have enough pressure to bring it back down, that the bulls are regaining
So if you're
control.
playing that, are you saying, hey, this handle could bounce off the 200 and you're adding before, or are you adding as it strengthens up over that 423.06 line? Like where's your entry there?
So this was VWAP, right? For me, not 200 day. I used that on like my higher time frames, but yeah, I should probably like change the colors or something. I see that could be confusing. But for me, I play them on handle breakouts. So right over here on this breakout is probably how I would have looked at it.
Okay.
Like just so you can see.
I like when the handle starts to, would you say CC or something like that?
No, go ahead.
Comes together. You know when the handle comes together and it's like pinches? I love that.
Like I like to just kind of look at things in real time. You know, like for example, this was the same cup and handle I'm showing you. So I was watching this happen yesterday, and probably, this blue area is your neckline of the handle. I like entering a little bit before then because a lot of times you spike up like quick on your neckline. I'm not sure if that happened here, but we can take a look. Yeah. So you can see. So you see right here. This is pretty much the answer.
That neckline up top. That's your very first target, right?
That's not my first target. So on cup and handles, I play them with the handle breakout, and then basically with that, I use the second neckline as like my area to like make or break the trade, if that makes sense. So if you can
Okay.
break out from that neckline, I'll stay in the trade. If it rejects the neckline, then I break even when you come back down into the handle. Does that make sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I go about playing them. But people play them in different ways. Some people play them when they break the neckline. Some people play them at the bottom of the handle. They try to catch that bottom. It depends on what type of a trader you are, and also, every stock has its own personality, so some will move a little bit differently.
I break even so many times. It'll start to break out, and I'm adding, and I'm up 13, 14%, and I will break even because it'll drop out, and I'm like, oh, I'm out even, because I'm like, I do not want a red trade.
Yeah.
And so I think people don't understand that you scale in, scale out, but I'm scaling out to like break even. I'm like, I'm not going to let this thing go red, or I'll make $7 or lose $3. I really don't want to see red on my screen. But if it's not going to break out, it's not going to break out. I don't know if it's going to break out. I'm just seeing the pattern, playing it.
Yeah. And that's another thing. You got to, in my opinion, I think approaching everything with uncertainty is a very healthy way to trade. A lot of people try and trade with, okay, this has to happen right now. I'm going to keep, for example, like, let's say a stock is dropping and somebody starts buying it. They're going to start saying, in their mind, the stock has to reverse right now. And I'm just going to if I just keep adding money into the stock until it reverses, eventually I'll be in profit, And sure, that can work here and there, but that type of mindset, eventually, all it takes is one stock to not go back up to literally crush you. And that's how a lot of back holders are created. And I'm sure that happened to a lot of people in the past year in a lot of these small caps. Cost averaging, it's a great tactic, but, overdoing anything in trading or in life in general. And I'm 19 years old, and I'm saying this with my baby goatee, like you said earlier in the morning. You want to look at everything everything you look at should have some sort of a limit, and that's kind of how I go about it.
Yeah. So SPY IQs was in a cup and handle. A lot of other tickers we're looking at today. That pennant, right?
Yeah.
So as you're going through your watch list, because sometimes the watch list will all look the same. Everything's in a flag or whatever.
Yeah. Especially these past couple months.
Mm-hmm. Do you gravitate towards, like the other day, Facebook was just pumping out of the gate, nothing else was, and I was like, okay, the only thing green on my list, whatever. How do you play that, or are you just kind of waiting for a pattern like we are?
I love outliers. That's a great question. I love outliers in general. I think it whenever you have any sort of an outlier in the market, it just shows that it's trading based on something else, whether that be a catalyst, a pattern, just the actual stock moving differently. A great example was yesterday. Moderna, the market was up huge yesterday, and Moderna was down 3 or 4% in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I was like, there's really no reason for Moderna to be down. It's in a wedge. It was backtesting some support and whatnot. And this was the biggest trade of the week that I've alerted so far. I shared like some calls right over here, and those went up over 400% one day later. So outliers, in my opinion, are something that a lot of people ignore. But I think they can make for some of the best trades. But at the same time, like I said before, everything has its limits. Sometimes a stock isn't going the right way for a reason. That's why, I was trying to check the news, and volume's another big thing, right? You saw, for example, on something like this, during this duration, I'm pretty sure the market was going higher and this was going down. This was yesterday morning. The QQQ was ripping yesterday morning, but this was only going down on like lowest volume of the day. It really wasn't that much selling pressure. It just, buyers didn't really take notice of it yet. And then later on they did, Mm-hmm. So yeah, outliers are great. What about you? How do you like looking at those?
Yeah, I have my little watch list like I was sharing. When it's all red, all green, there's no edge there. I'll go to my bigger watch list, which has things like Boeing on it and Disney, Coinbase, some crap like Beyond. But we had a trade a couple weeks ago where everything was fading, and then Netflix was a little bit green, but not, I wouldn't say enough to trade. And Roku just made this giant rising wedge, and it was really green, relatively up,
Mm-hmm.
1.7 something percent, and everything was down, substantially. And we went to look at Roku, and we're like, why is that up? Well, we don't know why, but we see it's in a wedge. And so we took puts, and it was 0 DTE, and Roku really sucks for scalping because of the spreads. Yeah. And I think we had like a 300% gainer on that. and all that happened was it was lagging the red market. That's all it was. So, you know, I would have to look back to find out exactly what day. I could try to find it, but it was wild, you know. And the only reason I looked at it was because of that. It was the only thing green on my entire list.
Yeah.
Let me try to find the day. So. I cannot find it. Oh, it was the Friday before Martin Luther King Day, before President's Day, excuse me.
What was the date for that?
It was like February 18th.
So it was the big gap down?
Yeah, you have to go to like the 5 minute or something.
So like this, right over here? Something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
That's what you're looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So that was nice. And then one of the days, I think that first day, when was President's Day? I'm telling you, it was that one Friday. Yeah, it was February 18th that morning.
Okay.
I just remembered because.
I mean, I'm looking at Roku right now. You just remind me. I haven't looked at this chart in so long, and
yeah, it turned
I'm a fan
into
of
crap.
this chart here.
So, my buddy was like, "Dude, Roku's in a rising wedge," and like I said, the only reason we looked at it was because it was the only thing green on the watch list. And then we got into puts and we wrote them down, just like on your SPY today. You just wrote it down.
Yeah.
And it was just a textbook rising wedge on that, I believe, February 18th. And then faded all day past the opening price. And what I tell newer traders is, hey, they're like, I want to learn how to pattern trade. How do you see this and that? And I'm like, you know, play flags. Look at the SPY flag from today. You could literally just wait for flags. If you don't see a flag, wait till tomorrow. Yeah. Add a second pattern that you like, maybe. Wait, you know, just get those two. Make them on put a poster up on your wall or index cards. Now you're waiting for flags and maybe, like I said, a rising wedge. If you don't see a rising wedge or falling wedge, you don't play that. I mean, Champ talks about harmonics, and he's like, it goes back to the 0.60 something retracement, rather, like he's building a NASA rocket or something. What's he talking about? But everybody can just find a triangle.
Yeah. I
never really looked at the MACD divergence until I started watching your stream. I still look at volume overall. Like, look, that chart you have up right now, it's still lowering volume from that first big drop under the 200.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing that you pointed out that I look at is the biggest selling days of the last year were all red days. That was huge.
For anybody who's I don't know, in here for like Keanu or something, really quickly, this was like my hack to finding multiple bottoms in the market last year. Simplest thing ever. High volume on SPY. I mean, it was so simple. You could just take a look at every single time the SPY bottomed out, it was on a major volume spike. Every single time. And actually what's a little bit different this time, which I'll take a look at in a second here, was on this bottom, which is why I think that this was actually the bottom, which I actually want to ask you about in a little bit here. So again, it was kind of like the same thing here. However, on these lows, you had definitely declining volume. But on top of that,
but it was relatively rising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also line that up with the lower Bollinger Band. So even if I just take out those high volume areas, you could just see every time it hits that lower Bollinger Band, that lower red line as well. So matching those two together.
Yeah, and this morning Jordan got into those puts with you because he was like, oh, Champ added them outside of the band. And of course it was outside of the band on that resistance. That's why it's resistance. So
yeah. So moving on.
I don't know why that buying is on a high volume.
It's interesting. Wild. And it's the first time we've seen it in a while, actually. But in general, what are your thoughts about the market right now? Do you think the bottom is in?
I tweeted bottom a couple days ago. I don't know if it was before you or after. You know, I'm not gonna. I definitely am like, hey, it doesn't matter who calls it, and then when I call it, I'm a big asshole about it.
Everybody has to be like that.
It's for fun. the first thing it says in my bio is satire based. If somebody gets mad, I'm like, listen, I'm playing around. I don't know what's going to happen. If I were making $1 million every day or at all, I wouldn't be on Twitter at all. Like so I cannot predict the future. I do think the bottom is in personally, at least short term. I think we're going to test the 200 minimum. That falling wedge that you have in that blue area, it double bottomed like under that 420 level.
Yep.
Something I've been trying to embrace is you see that second bottom is higher. So when we're approaching, yeah, exactly. And we pointed out that it's like an inverse head and shoulders looking ugly thing on a trend line. I know that the left shoulder is like not really there, but
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So if the resistance level is, let's say, that 457.96, and we're playing calls that day because it's approaching, I don't set your limit sell for 457.96. Isn't everyone doing that? I said it beforehand. You don't want to be the last person left in the water when there's sharks in the water. So I always said it before. All of my limit sells are, I'm selling things at 98%. I want that 100%. I'm so happy about it. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to sell to all these OCD people that would need 100% or something like that. I'm just trying to be one step ahead. It's not like any thing that I read in a trading book. I'm just like trying to think what everyone's doing. I used to coach basketball, and I think, what is the other coach telling their team in the timeout? So Smart. I don't spend 90% of my time thinking about that, but I do spend a small amount, and I'm just trying to be, like you said, one step ahead. I got to outsmart these 19-year-olds growing goatees around Twitter, baby. You know what I mean?
You talking about like anybody specific there, or just like in general?
I saw it last night. I was like, is that a shadow? Whoa. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. We're going to have at least a couple days of continuation. What I want is a flag here on SPY. That's what I want. I want a flag and pop up rally base rally. So, yeah, and I think Tesla's going to gap up. I haven't looked at futures, but I think it's going to gap up over the 850. What did it close at?
What are you asking about?
Tesla?
Tesla closed at 840.
Okay, so after hours 848, I think it's going to gap over that 200 tonight. If futures are green, I haven't looked at them at all. I was too busy.
Futures are slightly green, not much.
If I tweet less, will you put my tweets on notifications? Will you commit to that with the whole family here?
Are you talking to me?
Champ. Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say? I just zoned out.
I said, if I tweet less, will you commit with the whole family here to put my tweets on notification?
Yeah. I don't get the question though. Sure.
I'm saying put the notifications on my tweets.
I literally do not have my phone with me, but I'll do it right now on my computer. Keanu.
But yeah, man, your charts are so clean, and any night that I can, I'm watching. I always learn something. So,
all right, I just did it live on stream. Also, this is a good time to say, go follow KeanuTrades on Twitter. First link in the description. You've been hearing how smart he is, and he has a lot of good stuff to offer. Make sure you turn on those sweet notifications when you follow him as well. But yeah, I think
get in Champs, man. Champ has that free premium offer right now. Come on now, it's a no-brainer.
Not gonna lie, that's something I definitely saw you do, and a couple of my mods, presented that to me earlier this week, and I never thought I was gonna do a free trial, but the response has been amazing. So, yeah.
The thing is, the people that come in stay. They're afraid to, as we all are. We want to fill up our gas tanks. We don't want to spend money on some kid from Twitter who's this guy, right? But if they try it out, they're gonna see that there's value there. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I definitely, I didn't really understand that. I mean, there's still a lot of things. I'm 19 years old, so I don't really have a lot of experience with a lot of this stuff. But, yeah, I definitely get that. And make sure you go join his premium stuff too. I know they've been killing it. One thing they do a lot is Tesla options. We're on Tesla right now. And you said you wanted to bring this up earlier on Twitter. I saw that. Is Tesla breaking out? I view it as a breakout. What do you think?
Yeah, me and one of my guys, Professor Shrooms, don't do drugs, kids, but he likes his mushrooms. I think it charts on mushrooms too. But we were posting that inverted head and shoulders there for a breakout.
Oh, okay.
So, and then somebody was like, it's going to bounce down. And I was like, it could bounce down. It's making a lower high. I mean, if it makes a lower high, I think it's going to break out. As soon as it takes out that right shoulder, you know, I'm in puts. So
this is can't talk. This is the make or break area. It's testing the 200-day moving average and this little neckline of the head and shoulders. So tomorrow's a big day for Tesla. The right shoulder's
right at the 200 with the trend line.
It's such a big area.
And we have rising volume today, so I want to take out that volume tomorrow. And if we do, I swung 840 calls last night.
Yeah, you said that this morning.
I did not swing today because I used up all my buying power and spaces, and there was just so much opportunity today. So I would have swung one, but I did not. So that's where we're at. But we got to get past that double top where your mouse is. What is that, 12 something?
Yes, yeah, around
1200. It's a long way to go,
but here's, I was also looking at the weekly chart. I mean, you see this purple line over here, this trend line? It's trying to bounce off of this as well. It's got some, you were talking about that divergence. It's trying to make some hidden bullish divergence. So there's a couple things on the weekly chart as well. It's just all about getting and holding above that 200 moving average. I'm sure that's what most people are looking at right now in Tesla.
Yeah, and when it does break out, if it breaks out with the RSI still not overbought, then you still have some room. So if that happens, if it breaks the trend line with the RSI still relatively low, then you can go a little bit heavier, I feel, to ride it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's been dropping relatively pretty much since last November. Lost 4/10 of its value.
Yeah, and things like Facebook have been dropping even more, and I think for a better value. So I've been adding a lot of Facebook shares. Here goes Champ with his harmonics. You know,
it's pretty close to a bullish Gartley. It's a little bit off, but pretty close. But yeah, Facebook, that's another great one. Were you watching my stream last night?
Yeah.
Oh, this one.
The same guy that was doing that inverted head and shoulders on Tesla posted the chart kind of you had. I was like, dude, you and Champ have the same chart with that breakout.
Yeah, I've been looking at this pattern for over a month now. I actually lost a pretty rough amount of money in the beginning of this pattern trying to play it. But I noticed yesterday that I was very quietly breaking out, and I also missed it. Like, I lost money inside the pattern, and then I missed it. I missed it breaking out this morning because I was too focused on the SPY. So a little bit personally frustrated, but I've gone over this multiple times on stream, and for those who took it, huge trade. I saw some people making some crazy amount of profit on weekly calls on Facebook today, but yeah, very clean breakout for sure.
Yeah,
and yesterday it had a hammer. Like, let me just delete all this stuff for a second. Had a hammer candle on the daily yesterday, and on the 4-hour it had this bullish engulfing tweezer bottom. Like, the stage was set, and that's also off of a double bottom too. Like, everything was there. It was pretty nice. If anybody didn't see it, just go check out the timestamp from my last night's stream on Facebook and just see my reaction to seeing all that. Like, I was like, it's pretty obvious.
The last screen you were on, it showed another volume bar before you went to this screen. It was like
4-hour chart.
Okay, there we go. So there's another volume bar. So the 4-hour chart, lower in volume in the 4-hour, but the daily has rising.
Both are lowering. God. Oh, you're saying like on the recent one? Yeah. So overall, from the whole entire day today, your volume was rising, but your second half of the day you had lower volume. So you have 2 4-hour candles a day.
Because it just kind of held. It didn't fire up.
All this, I have a active swing trade alert that I put on Facebook. It's still down from the entry, but it was literally about to get stopped out, which is the bottom of that red box. Now it's
what's the 1 R&R, 3 R&R?
That's a reward to risk. I use that in all my trades. You know, so you know, if you're risking go ahead.
That's showing the profit if you get into calls and it goes up.
No, that's the reward to risk. So, you know, if you have, let's say you're entering a stock right over here, your target is up over here, your stop is over here, right? You get a reward to risk based on that, right? So if I just move this over here, this is a 2 reward to risk, which means you're potentially standing to gain 2 times more than you're risking based on your target and your stop. You get what I'm saying?
Wow. That's cool.
So I use that on all of my swings. It's built in on TradingView, so I can tell everybody, you know, these are 4 different targets and they all have a different reward to risk.
Dang,
and that's
cool. You might
yeah,
sell me on TradingView just because of that. I love that.
Oh, TradingView is amazing, and they don't even. I wish they paid me. I really like. I've asked them multiple times. I talked to one of the people that works there, and they just can't pay me. I don't know.
Well, you said, can you sponsor me? Like,
I've like
I
forgot. Let me see what I said exactly.
I mean, I hope you're not paying for pro. You're on this thing every night. You probably sold so many TradingView.
I think it's like $600 a year or something for what I have. I have like the top one.
You got to be in the top 1% of the use.
I just said if you ever start a sponsorship program, let me know with the smiley face emoji, and then they just said awesome and good to know. So I'll take that as a no.
Some intern emailed you back.
But yeah.
I just DM'd you the chart, the Tesla chart that I was talking about. If you want to look real quick.
Yeah, sure. I'll show the stream too. I don't want to show our chat. Let me skip that song. 1 second. Oh, what do you say?
I can see your computer background, the wallpaper.
Yeah, nice. I'm just moving stuff around. I appreciate it. Here we go. Yeah. So that's what you're looking at. Big opportunity here. I mean, there's so many names that just got crushed over the past year, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they do in the next few months.
I'm looking at this as February, March of COVID, whenever nobody was buying, and then all of a sudden, I don't think people started buying in March, but what they did is they stopped selling, and then the prices went up.
I didn't look at it like that until like this week, and this is the first time since like the beginning of the year that I'm starting to really get bullish about the market. I mean, I was coming into this year relatively bearish. All of January, I was saying I was bearish. February, I flip-flopped for pretty much most of the month, but now this is like the first time, like probably since like last June, that I feel really bullish about the market. Last June was an insane month. I don't know if you remember it.
Oh yeah.
But because the Nasdaq had a correction in May, and then June just ripped.
DM you a nice list of buy low stocks right now, and you're gonna laugh, and I'm gonna love it. Here we go.
Can I show the stream?
Okay, you can send it. Yeah, show this on stream.
All right, this is not financial advice, everybody.
Not financial advice. Only with Monopoly money.
How do I do this?
My buy low watch list. There we go.
Kathy Wood has entered the chat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I actually said that. I said weeks ago that I wanted to get ARK calls. I wanted to get leaps at $50. Like I was calling 50 as like a bottom. It went to I think 52. That was like $2 off. But I said I was going to enter some leaps around here. I still haven't entered them. I'm still waiting to see how it reacts in the next couple of days. But ARK has been in this downtrend for longer than most of the rest of the market. So I know a lot of people have counted out. COVID,
yeah.
A lot of people have counted out Kathy Wood, but they forget what she did on the first half of this, right? A lot of people, if I were to just, if we just look at it like this.
Well, I get the daily emails. She rolled out her positions, and in that entire flag that happened before it bounced down under the 200, she was still rolling profits. So when people are like, oh, she's losing, I'm like, she just rolled, and then she's dollar cost averaging down. So I'm not saying she doesn't have positions losing, but how much cash she has to keep buying?
Yeah, I mean, she is a very long-term oriented investor, obviously, but she heavily outperformed the S&P for the last few years leading up until this pullback. So I think, she's going to underperform in worse times for the market, but what she does when the market's going up was pretty incredible for a long time. Just not a lot of people have forgot about literally all of this, and they're just going to be talking about the last, literally just the last 1 year exactly. But all of this, is crazy. But also, I mean, looking at it, it's crazy to see, it took, I don't know how many years 2,000 days is. Let's just do 1,800 divided by 365. It took 5 years for this crazy move to happen. That was all most of it was given up in 1 year. So that's why you manage risk, everybody.
diversify, manage risk, take some off the table, and scale it on those ads. So when it drops, you have a cushion. You know,
Absolutely.
when things drop, you have a cushion. You said this morning, I'm going to give it some room, right?
Yeah, and I was actually
because if
picking the
something
high of the day
wicks,
on the puts, and I still wanted to give it some room.
yeah. Because if you start scaling out and you're up $80, 160, 210, and it's, you know, wicking, my new break even is plus 160, plus 210, plus my green. Because then people like, I got stopped out. Well, if you're trying to play that chess game and think ahead, everyone is trying to break even on the retest of, you know, the trend line. And that's why it retests, because people get back in at that trend line. Then you're still in the trade with a cushion, and you can ride it up or down.
Yeah, and you know, in general, if you just think about the psychology of just traders, you see a lot of stocks still go down for a long time. This is another reason why I think we're around the bottoming area and why we just saw capitulation. A lot of stocks get to stages in which they just start bleeding on low volume for a long time, and typically what tends to be the bottom for a lot of those types of stocks is a huge impulse green candle. Like if we take a look at something, let's go and take a look at BABA from today, right? Literally this stock just went down and down and down, just little candles, not much. And then out of nowhere, it does this, which is just a crazy move. Even something like Wish, I'm not saying the bottom is in for sure, but I'm just saying you can see, like, you know, it's like a very curved formation, right? You just start slowly bleeding and bleeding, and you kind of like sliding down a slide. And then you get to the bottom of the slide, and then you just get these big, quick impulses. And they don't look like much at first, but they could turn into a lot. So, you know, it's always important to kind of, and this is not exactly what you're saying, but just kind of think about how other people are looking at the same assets, right? That's all technicals are. You're just visually interpreting what everybody is doing when they're trading the stock. That's what each candle is buys and sells.
If you make a couple
people.
$100 today, buy, you know, 100 shares of Wish. Now you have a $200 position in Wish. That was all profits. And who cares what happens with it, you know? Maybe it goes to 20, maybe it goes to 18, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Hey, you have a $1,200 somewhere. Like, maybe that doesn't happen. It costs you $200. You know, it's all speculative, baby.
Yeah, a lot of people just, that's the big thing. I think that's where me and you definitely stand apart. And that's how I think we've both been able to accomplish what we have is, you know, we allow for uncertainty, and we don't really group ourselves with a lot of other people who, you know, just look at this as all hype and euphoria. And, you know, it's just a very different mindset, which is something I really respect from you.
I appreciate that. Well, like I said before, I learn something every time I watch. Sometimes I watch 5 minutes. Sometimes I watch the whole thing. You know, this morning was fun. I was trying something new. I had never been on Spaces till this week, and maybe we'll get you in next Wednesday, and we'll do a Champ Wednesdays. We'll check out your weekly progress on the goatee and make some money.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you for joining the stream. Look forward to having you back another day. Everybody remember to go follow KeanuTrades on Twitter. First link in the description. And any last words?
I'm looking forward to tomorrow, man. Let's keep making money, and I'm excited. The market's turning, and everybody who's been grinding these last 6 weeks are about to start making some really easy money, because the lake is about to get a lot less choppy, I think.
Yeah. Remember, every what's Newton's law? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yep, and that's why the low time frame flag barely broke on that bear flag, and the higher flag broke a lot. Exactly.
It's all connected, everybody. So there we go. That's KeanuTrades. Thank you for joining the stream. Have a good one, and talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get some vibes in the chat for Keanu. I'm gonna head out of the call right now, and hopefully you all enjoyed that. I think it was very informational. It's always good to get other people's perspective, even though we're very similar in how we go about all this stuff. Let me put the music back up a little bit. Anybody who's not really familiar with my channel, I talk about stocks. Surprisingly, if you haven't noticed yet, yeah, I talk about stocks. I'm definitely a technical based trader. I have a free course in the description if you want to get to know my style. It's from beginner to advanced. Go check that out. And if you're interested in me, then hit the subscribe button. But yeah, the stream's not over. I still have a lot to go over. We didn't really even look at individual names so far this stream. So I was talking about all that bottoming stuff in the beginning of the stream, but we were only talking about the overall market. We haven't even looked at so many of these individual assets that are showing some of the nicest variables I've seen in a long time, which we're going to do right now. So before we go over, I actually added Roku to my watch list after we just talked to Keanu. It's a pretty interesting chart, but we're going to go over Roku, Ford, DraftKings, Clove, Fisker, the ongoing swings. I alerted Penn as a swing yesterday. It was up 6% today. I alerted SDC as a swing last week. That was up 13% today. We're going to talk about all that in a second. First up, I just want to give you the nightly reminder because there's only 2 days left. There is currently a free trial, okay, for premium. And there's, I think, about 80 people signed up. And getting the free trial could have paid for 4 years of premium, okay? It was a free alert. I'm not saying that everybody, bought in at $317 a contract and sold at $1,800 a contract. Obviously, nobody really did that. But the potential was at least there for 1 year for sure. For 2 years, maybe. For 3 years, maybe. So, yeah, these are the alerts since I started the free trial. We had some QQQ puts that went up a little bit yesterday. Some SPY puts that went up a lot today, as you can see. Some Moderna calls that went to the moon. Even some CCL puts. And yeah, if you want to see, my last few months of progress on options, I actually put in the swing updates channel right over here. If it'll load, it's right over here. But it's looking good. It's looking pretty good. I'll pull it up in a second. But if you want to join the trial and see my premium for the next 2 days for free, join the Discord. The link is in the description. Come to this overview channel and then scroll up and click on this message. There's 90 people that are in the free trial. And those 90 people had a chance of getting 4 years of premium in 1 week for free by one contract of what was alerted. So join this, and it's not just the options. We've got a watch list. Look how well the watch list has done so far this week. Obviously, the market's up a lot. I'm not going to take away from that. But this went up literally 18% in 1 day. Moderna was up like 15, 16% or something today, 14, I don't know. There's a watch list. There's a bullseye bot. If it'll load. Right over here, look at all these automated alerts from TradyTix, and of course there are the swings. And we might have something else that I'm adding soon, I'm not sure. And there's also going to be a watch list, not a watch list. There's also going to be, what was I just going to say? There's going to be a workshop, probably next weekend or something. So that link's in the description. All links are in the description. Go check that out. Follow KeanuTrades, and let's get back into the trading view and the charting. And I forgot to mention with premium prices raised, it's going to be the final price raise on Monday. So you have until Monday. Sign up if you're interested. So where do we get started? Let's start with my favorite. Let's start with Fisker, up 8% today. Most stocks were up a good amount today, but you got a nice little gap up and run on Fisker today. Let's go down to the 1 hour. A lot of, you got fake outs in both directions for Fisker from this triangle. It looks like it's definitely breaking to the upside now. I guess we'll see. But nice little 1 hour breakout for Fisker. And look at this. Look at this. Okay, another bounce off the demand line. I redrew this a couple times, but you bounce right off of it. And now you're breaking above this supply line on the 4 hour. So you have look at this. You have a 1 hour breakout on Fisker, a 4 hour breakout on Fisker, and even on the daily, breakout. So breakout day for Fisker today. Wanted to mention that after the hammer candle yesterday, which I don't even think I talked about. So nice little breakout day. Still has some resistance over here around 12 bucks, as you can see, but if it crosses that, it could run back to hit the first target of the trade yet again. It already hit the first target for a 23% gain. Hopefully you can hit it and maybe go higher. So that's Fisker. Penn, this was alerted yesterday as a swing trade. This was up 6% today. Nothing really to update technically, but nice little fall through after the tweezer bottom almost yesterday. And you're hitting bullish divergence is developing. Final resistance is like right here. There's really not much resistance. If you can break like 45, there's not much resistance till the first target at 51 on Penn. So hopefully you can hit that first target after double bottoming at the PCZ of a bullish shark, which also lines up with the previous resistance flipped into a support while breaking out of a wedge, showing hidden bullish divergence on the daily and classic bullish divergence on the weekly. If everything I just said sounded like gibberish, go watch the free course in the description. So that's Penn today. Facebook, I told you all last night that Facebook was set up for a breakout. I was making a lot of weird faces when I was looking at this chart last night because of how beautiful it looked. And Facebook's breaking out. of this dragon pattern, or this wedge, whatever you want to call it. And that's also happening after hitting the PCC of a bullish cipher. So short term, I like Facebook because of that wedge breakout. And long term, I like Facebook because it just double bottomed at the PCC of a cipher. So the swings, you know, I think they're looking pretty good. We'll see what happens. And then SDC was alerted last week, is already up 15% since the entry. Classic bullish divergence, double bottom at the PCC of a harmonic, wedge breakout. You know the drill, another one. So it's nice. It's nice to have times like these. You know, the last few months, the swings did not do well at all. So I've just been kind of focusing on options, which have been doing well, as you could see. But it's nice to see the swings are starting to come back. And if I'm right about how I'm feeling about the market right now, if you watched the beginning of the stream and why I think we could have already put in the bottom, you know, again, I'm not going to start putting out 10 swings tomorrow, because just because I said I think we've put in the bottom doesn't mean we cannot pull back tomorrow, the day after, next week. We could pull back at any point. I just think the overall bottom has been put in. It might take some time. I don't think we're going to go up to all-time highs in 2 weeks. But it's a good start, and there are going to be, most likely there's going to be a lot of new swings. I know it's been a while since I've had more than like 3 or 4 or 5 swings on the sheet. You know, back in the day, we used to have like 30 to 40. I know I talk about this a lot. I like doing these segments for the people who are newer to the streams. But we used to have a lot of swings on the sheet back in the day. Recently, we've only had like these many or something. So don't be surprised if the sheet looks like this in a month or two. But it's going to take some time. I don't want to just FOMO in after you just had 2 of the best days in a long time for the market. So we'll see what happens, but that's like a little bit of an update on the swings. I kind of already went over like the trades from premium, the day trades. The key from the highlight from today was the SPY puts I alerted twice, once in the morning. Literally the high of the day up until the close, but I alerted SPY puts on this exact candle and on the live trading with KeanuTrades, and then I also alerted some SPY puts on this triangle breakdown. Those obviously played out, and then you ripped into the end of the day. So there's really nothing much for me to update in terms of the day trades, but I just want to pretty much spend the rest of the stream looking at some individual stocks that look interesting to me. Let me read the chat before we even do that, because I really haven't looked at it. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me see what I missed in the chat, and then we're going to look at some of my favorite charts right now. Okay. A lot of people asking about BABA. We can take a look at it in a second here. Oh my gosh, I just forgot. We were looking at this like 2 days ago or something, and I was talking about how it hit this demand line, and it's been a nice journey since then. What kind of tea do you normally drink? Earl Grey, I think is what it's called. Laid Back One says, I was in the Twitter feed just long enough to grab those puts. Great job, guys. Glad to hear that. It's going to be uploaded to watch later. All streams are uploaded to watch later. If you just follow me on Twitter, I'll let you know when the replay's up. Links in the description. Oh yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this, but the Hang Seng Index is back up again. It actually gapped up, I think, like 6%. Now it's pulling back since the open. Big Mike Suit TV says, these streams are great. Thank you. Glad to hear that. The guy does not think ARK's going to hit the 886. Yeah, I'm not sure at this point if it's going to as well. It's like the bottom could be in. We'll see. But I'm keeping a very close eye on the ARK. I want to see how it does for a day or two, and we'll see. Very educational stream today. Love it. Glad to hear that. Keanu's in the chat saying, I do love Amazon, baby. Thanks for listening to Spaces this morning. Money was made. Rocket ship emoji. Also, we had 2,100 members in the Discord, which is awesome. And yeah, so that's the chat. Let's talk about some individual names. First, we're just going to start with BABA because I see like 2 or 3 people asking about it. BABA is in a long-term falling wedge. In terms of levels, the next major level is $130 from this low over here. Also got some resistance at 120. So 120, 130, those are probably the 2 key levels I'd be looking to the upside. And if it does start pulling back, you have a gap fill at 80, 42. So those are your big levels on BABA. On the weekly, I think it has classic bullish divergence. BABA has pretty much quadruple classic bullish divergence on the weekly. which is just beautiful. This is going to pretty much just, unless you dump, it's going to be a bullish engulfing candle on the weekly. It's a beautiful chart in my opinion, but remember it went up 37% in one day. So if it ever pulls back, you know, that's the thing. You know, a lot of these charts I think are beautiful, but you have to remember they just went up like 20, 30, 40% in a week. So it could take some time. You could get some pullbacks. That's why I think going all in, you never know. There's going to be some profit takers, especially in a very fearful market. People are going to want to take profits when they see their first profits in a while, it looks like. But the only question is, when will they start doing that? But yeah, I love Baba's chart on the weekly. We'll just see what happens over time. And actually, I follow somebody on Twitter called the Stocksman, and he did a great job. He announced he was swinging Baba like 2 or 3 days ago, I think, and he's doing very well, it looks like. Roku is another one I want to keep an eye on. Keanu was mentioning this earlier, and I took a look at it. Roku also has quadruple classic bullish divergence on the daily. It's trying to double bottom on the daily. Roku is putting in a equal low to its low from October 2019 and June 2020. It's in a falling wedge. Very interesting. Ford is another one I'm keeping an eye on. It's trying to reclaim this high over here from June of 2021, which also lines up with the resistance from March of 2015. And I believe it's got some classic bullish divergence. And you could even chart a little bit of a wedge here that it's breaking out of. This is the first time in a very long time I've seen so many charts just look good to me at the same exact time. DraftKings, we've talked about this multiple times. Bullish shark, falling wedge, simple. Pretty much a tweezer bottom at the lows, and then a nice follow through candle. It was already up 14% today though. That's another one. Micron, I mean, this one's already kind of going, but it did bounce off the bottom of a range. Now it's retesting the 200-day moving average. AMD is testing, it's very similar to Tesla. AMD and Tesla both are testing major areas. They're testing breakouts and 200-day moving averages at the same exact time. So Tesla and AMD, they're at huge make or break areas. Breakouts could be very big for both of them, but they're not confirmed yet, so we got to see what happens. Let's take a look at NVIDIA. This broke out today. So we want Tesla and AMD to do what NVIDIA did today. It broke above the 200-day moving average and the supply line over here. And I forgot to talk about clov. It's looking the same. It was up 9% today. I told you all like 2 nights ago on stream to look out for a bounce at this level. And you bounced at that level. It was the back test of the head and shoulders. And remember, I also brought up the 3 rising valleys. All you have to do is get above 330 for your breakout of the 3 rising valleys, and then there's not much resistance till $3.70. So it is crazy how many charts looking insanely interesting right now, and that's just like the start. Like there's so many more, and I'm gonna continue to reveal them over time. But remember, don't FOMO. Okay, literally, when your whole entire watch list is looking this green, right? You gotta stop and think for a second. If everything's pretty much green, you know, and there's some indices here and like volatility stuff, so don't include like something like that. But like, it's pretty clear to see that the majority of the day was green across the board. You didn't catch the bottom if everything's green, and you know, now you're starting to think, okay, things are looking good, right? And that's what I was saying. I'm not calling a bottom from today. There was no bottom to call today. I'm calling a bottom from over here, from this low. It just took a couple of weeks of price action for me to even be able to say that, because I needed some confirmation, because we looked like we were in a very different place 2 days ago. It looked like we were breaking down yet again, right? And look what just happened. So things can change in a matter of 2-3 days. That's why you got to be quick, and that's why you got to be able to take it for what it is. A lot of people spend too much time worrying about being right. You're going to be wrong. I think you spend more time worrying about profiting when you're right and minimizing your losses when you're wrong. All right, so I hope you enjoyed tonight's stream. There's a lot more to come. I'm trying everything I can. Hopefully you're enjoying it. We've done live trading 2 days this week. I'm doing it again tomorrow morning in the Discord in the free trial. There's premium. There's everything else in the Discord. There's the free course on my channel. There's the nightly streams, everything I'm putting out on Twitter. Find a way to help yourself. I'm trying to put out as many different resources as I can. And there's only like 20 people left in the stream. There's a decent chance I'm going to I don't know if I should say it. All right, so I'm thinking about making an ETF. Obviously, I can't make a real ETF that's like tradable and whatnot, and obviously I'm not a financial advisor. But I'm talking about a simulator ETF. Let me know what you think. Drop a one in the chat if something if you'd be interested in something like that, where basically I would be actively managing some of my favorite stocks in the portfolio, and we could see how I do against things like the ARK ETF or the SPY or the QQQ. You know, it's just something I've thought about for a while. Let me know. Drop the number one in the chat if that's something you'd be interested in. So the guy's not interested. So we've got one vote against it. A 2 means you're against it. Okay. I need to see some more ones. I know there's only 22 people left in here. No, see, an 85 means the guy thinks it's a horrible idea. That means probably you guys don't want to see me do that, right? How's that? It's 4 ones. 4 ones is not enough. Okay, I'm talking about literally managing a portfolio publicly in front of everybody. Okay, it's gonna be a simulator. That's what I'm talking about. I'm seeing a couple more ones. A 34-35. It's a little bit rude. It's a little bit rude. Keanu's dropping a 1, so yeah, you know, I feel like that might be the next step. That, you know, I feel like really nobody's kind of doing that. I know people do like the small account challenges and whatnot with like options and like $1,000 to $10,000 challenges. But now that I'm talking about how I think there's so much opportunity in a lot of mid caps and small caps, I think it might be an interesting time for me to start constructing a portfolio with a lot of these names. And I keep mentioning this basket of names, but I'm not saying a lot of specific names. So yeah, actually, I already kind of created the account for it. It's on the website. I'm not going to mention it until I do it. And I don't even know if I'm doing it for sure. I might not do this at all. It's just something I think would be cool. And we could just see how I do. Also, it's pretty easy for me to manage, so it's not like, because there's already a lot, like, you know. It's already a lot I'm trying to put out with the swings and the options and the nightly streams. I don't want to make things too complicated, because if I was like somebody entering the FTM right now, free trading movement, there's a lot that you have to like kind of get acclimated to. So I don't know. There's just a lot of moving parts. We have a lot of cool ideas coming up soon. So I think really good times are ahead of us. If you're excited, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and feels good to be back. Last couple of weeks were pretty rough for the market and just for the vibes of everything, but this week's been great. Hopefully it's not a dead cat bounce in the vibes, okay? Hopefully it's not a dead cat bounce in the market, but you all need to promise me that the vibes are not a dead cat bounce. I don't want everybody coming back for a week and then just dipping again, okay? The vibes need to come back and stay there. And you all know this, when the vibes are there, I do better, okay? I do better when the vibes are there. So give me the vibes, I'll do what I can. It's been a great week so far. Hopefully we can close it like that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll be live again tomorrow night. And if you want to hear me talk during market hours tomorrow, join the trial by joining the Discord, links in the description, and then going to the overview channel. And then tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. I'm going to be in this channel breaking down intraday trades and giving my thoughts on how the market's looking and whatnot. So go check all of that out. And yeah, it's going to be it for tonight. Thank you for watching the stream. Have a good night. Again, go follow KeanuTrades on Twitter. He was a great guest tonight. And peace out. Hopefully you enjoyed this stream, because this could be a big stream. Okay, remember, it's not about me being right or wrong. It's about, if I am right, capitalizing on that. That's all it's about. And remember, when I was talking about all that bottoming stuff, I'm not really talking about assets. And the SPY is in its own category. The SPY is a beast. But, you know, there's a lot of large caps that look very similar to the SPY. I'm not talking about assets that have only made a 23% retrace from their COVID crash low to high. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the assets that have made 78, 88% retraces from their COVID crash low to high. These are the assets I'm talking about. Keep that in mind. See what happens in a year, probably. I don't know. And yeah. Make a vibe coin for entry to see the secret thing. I'm not sure what that means. There's a champ coin though. Wait, what do we call it? I forgot. There's a fake casino in the Discord. These are called Vibe coins. They call it Vibe coins. You literally just said Vibe coins. Yeah, we do actually have Vibe coins. Yeah, I'm gonna create some inflation in the server. 1 second. All right, I just created inflation in the server. Wait, what? Oh, that's the wrong one. 1 second. All right, there we go. I just created inflation. I'm sorry. There's inflation in the server now. Go get this guy. I don't think there's any message, but THCXLINDKO. Thank you for the $3 super chat. Vibes in the chat. This one's for you. Thank you for the super chat. This one's for you, okay? This one's for you. There you go. Sorry, I know. I meant this one's for you. I didn't mean that one. I meant this one is the one that's actually for you. Sorry. The last one was, I was just like testing it. I didn't really mean that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good. So that one was for you. And yeah, thank you for watching the stream. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Join the Discord. The link is in the description. It's free to join. And there's all this cool stuff here. Okay. Here's your fun fact of the night.
What does a ghost really look like?
Clean price is the value of a bond that considers only the current redemption value.